I call this one. I'm calling the meeting to order.
I'm calling the meeting to order.
I thought I was.
Oh, I am Deborah Ostrand, Chair of the Jewish Federation of Southern Arizona,
and I am Ann Hammeroff, Chair of the Jewish Community Foundation of Southern Arizona. Together, we call the joint annual meetings of the Federation and Foundation to order.
During the past year, Federation and Foundation have shared a single CEO as we welcomed Graham Hoffman at last year's annual meeting to his role as CEO of Federation, while he already was serving as CEO of the Foundation. Now we have had a year to experience the benefits of our Federation and Foundation working ever more closely together under one CEO. Although it did take 2 volunteer chairs to stay up with him. During the pandemic, the staffing of our 2 organizations was streamlined and duties expanded across both organizations to eliminate duplication of efforts and to maximize the strengths of our 2 organizations. As our board meetings moved to a Zoom format, we soon found that joint meetings of the boards of Foundation and Federation gave us the ability to share information and ideas and to act more expeditiously, recognizing the impact the decisions that each board makes affect the entire community, our stakeholders, beneficiary agencies, partners, and synagogues.
Our community's response to the pandemic is a perfect example of how our coming together better enabled us to meet the needs of the community. Within days of understanding the extent of the crisis, our Foundation grant officers and our Federation campaign professionals jointly assessed the most urgent community needs. Volunteer fundraisers at the Federation quickly came together to raise funds that seeded the Pandemic Relief Fund. Donor-advised fund holders at the Foundation quickly joined in. And through the Foundation's existing relationships in the community through its prior grant making, we were able to quickly join with other key community organizations to fund the most urgent of needs and support those nonprofits on the ground, including our own JFSA. From this lesson learned, we further aligned our Foundation's grant-making process with our Federation's allocation process, working in a more collaborative and outcome-oriented way to support the work of our beneficiary agencies, partners, and synagogues, and to support the realizing of the new community vision.
From our community visioning and planning process, we learned that what our community members are most interested in. And from our experiences over the past year, we have learned how we can meet those interests more effectively by joining the forces for good of the Federation and the Foundation, a goal promoted by our immediate past Federation President and CEO, Stuart Mellon, to formalize this operational structure, which affirms that we are one community and that together we are stronger. The Foundation and Federation boards have approved, subject to a Federation membership vote at this meeting, the creation of a new overarching entity to be known now as the Center for Jewish Philanthropy. This new organization, under the direction of one CEO and one board, will carry out the duties of both organizations in a united manner designed to ensure that the whole community is served and strengthened by each of its parts.
The Harvey Indiana Evanchik Center for Jewish Philanthropy is the name of the beautiful building in which the Federation and Foundation have resided since it was completed in 2017. The Hebrew Free Loan and Community Security offices are also housed in this building. This summer, a team of volunteer marketing professionals will work with us to develop a permanent name and brand for our combined organizations that will continue to reside at the Center for Jewish Philanthropy. We hope to roll that name out at our in-person community-wide awards Welcome Back event on September 26th outside at the JCC.
This afternoon, we will formally approve this new organizational structure. First, we will have a voice vote of the members of the Federation Board to confirm the electronic vote previously conducted by which the Federation's Board of Directors approved our organizational restructuring, subject to confirmation of the membership of the Federation at this annual meeting. Is there anyone who would like to make this motion?
I will. All right, I move to ratify the electronic vote of the Board of Directors of the JFSA, which approved the termination of the Constitution of JFSA, the Articles of Incorporation for the Center for Jewish Philanthropy of Southern Arizona, and the slate of its initial trustees, and the amended and restated Articles of Incorporation and bylaws of JFSA and JCF, together with the slate of officers and trustees and their respective terms for JFSA, subject to the vote of the JFSA membership. Did you get that, Laura?
Thank you, David. Do we have a second?
This is Adam Goldstein. I second the motion.
Thank you, Adam. JFSA board members only are now asked to unmute themselves to vote verbally, saying aye or nay to the motion.
Aye.
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 The motion to ratify the electronic vote of the Board of Directors of JFSA, which approved the organizational restructuring of our organization, passes. Thank you all very much. In accordance with the existing Federation bylaws, notice of this meeting, together with the text of proposed resolutions regarding that same restructuring of our organizations to be adopted by the Federation membership at this meeting, were published online at azjewishpost.com and sent via Arizona Jewish Post-its email newsletter on April 28th, 2021. An additional link and invitation were sent to our entire Federation membership via email on April 29th, and a social media post was published May 5th. Sadly, you will see on the slide the inclusion on the slate of Josh Harand, who served during the past term as a trustee of our foundation and who so look forward to continuing his board service. We honor his legacy with his inclusion on this slate, even as we mourn his passing away this past week. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to adopt the proposed resolutions set out in the annual meeting notice?
Hi, I would, Melissa Goldfinger. I move that the membership of JFSA adopt the resolutions set forth in the notice of the annual meeting in order to approve the termination of the JFSA Constitution in all respects, adopt the amended and restated Articles of Incorporation of JFSA, and approve the Articles of Incorporation of the Center for Jewish Philanthropy of Southern Arizona and its initial slate of trustees in the form set forth in or attached to such notice.
Thank you, Melissa. Do we have a second?
Good afternoon, Michael Shiner. I second the motion.
Thank you, Michael. In a moment, you will see a poll appear on your Zoom screen. All Federation members are invited to vote on the motion that has been introduced. You may do so by clicking aye or nay.
The motion to approve the termination of JFSA's constitution and restate their articles of incorporation and ratify the proposed slate of members of the Board of Trustees of the Center for Jewish Philanthropy of Southern Arizona passes. And now we will play a short video of the board installation, oath, and blessing. This is a Jewish Community Foundation tradition that we are hoping to bring to the CJP moving forward. Newly initiated board members recite the oath of service and are in turn blessed by the past chairs.
I accept the honor and the responsibility conferred upon me.
I accept the honor and the responsibility conferred upon me.
I will serve the Center for Jewish Philanthropy of Southern Arizona to the best of my ability.
I will serve the Center for Jewish Philanthropy of Southern Arizona to the best of my ability.
And uphold its sacred values with dignity and integrity.
I will devote my time and my energy to its needs and goals.
I will devote my time and my energy to its needs and goals.
And I will attempt to serve with vigor
and to lead with humility.
I will strive to act in a manner which will bring honor to us all.
I will strive to act in a manner which will bring honor to us all.
Which will bring honor to us all.
Which will bring honor to us all.
We ask your blessings, O God, upon those who have been elected to lead and serve the Center for Jewish Philanthropy of Southern Arizona.
As they perform their duties, keep them ever mindful of the high purposes to which they and we are dedicated. Help them to be faithful to those who have preceded us and worthy predecessors of those who will yet follow.
May their actions reflect strength and wisdom and bear testimony to the great heritage which they represent.
As our newly elected officers and trustees strive to achieve their goals, may they help to keep us faithful to our tasks.
Grant our leaders strength when they are weary,
hope when they are discouraged, patience and perseverance when they face any obstacle.
Bless them and those dear to them with health of body, vigor of mind, and serenity of spirit.
May their labors reflect honor upon our organization and our people.
Thanks to each of those participating in that beautiful ceremony. We have recognized that creating a vibrant, inclusive Jewish community is a core Jewish value for at least the last 2,000 years, when Rabbi Hillel enjoined us not to separate ourselves from the community. And so it is with tremendous gratitude that we recognize and thank our Federation and Foundation board members who have completed their board service for truly living their Jewish values, knowing that no one of us can complete the work of repairing the world, but understanding too that by joining together, we can advance our mission, even during a stressful time of change and global pandemic. And who are these dedicated volunteers? For the past nearly 2 years, we have engaged in data collection about our community through our community visioning and planning process. And what is this data? It is a collection of personal stories about our individual and familial Jewish journeys. We would like to reveal some data points about our dedicated board members who have completed their board terms. We have from the Federation, Jennifer Bell, Alex Derry-Chafin, Avi Earps, Adam Goldstein, David Hamroff, Rabbi Thomas Lochheim, Phil Pepper, and Michael Shiner, representing 2 parents of children enrolled at Tucson Hebrew Academy and the creator of CAT, Community Action Team at THA, and a former co-chair of Young Men's Group, a former synagogue president, a rabbi, and several who are synagogue affiliated and synagogue active in modern Orthodox, conservative, and Reform, and others who are not currently synagogue members. 3 Federation event sponsors who have supported pre-pandemic programming and who have supported our programming as it has moved online. An attorney, business owners, and real estate investors and developers, one of whom is the APAC Volunteer Outreach Chair. 3 former co-chairs of our Community Roundtable and Synagogue Federation Dialogue, a former Jewish Community Foundation board member, 2 former co-chairs of our Ben Gurion Society, a former chair of our High Life group, 3 graduates of young leaders, young men's and young women's leadership, and 2 of young men's group, 2 in their 30s, 3 in their 40s, 2 in their 60s, and 1 in his 70s. I also recognize and extend our thanks to Barry Corey, who for several years has served as our volunteer legal counsel, a position I once held. We are appreciative of Barry's unstinting willingness to step in on a moment's notice, taking time from his law practice to provide his excellent advice, wisdom, and counsel.
And from the incredible foundation board, we have Jane Ash, Jennifer Cassius, Randy Davidson, Rob Glazer, Melissa Goldfinger, Rachel Green, Jeff Katz, Brenna Lacey, Steve Rojveller, and Jim Shiner. They represent a former Federation campaign chair, former Federation board member and co-chair of the agency allocation funding group, 2 past foundation board chairs and 2 former foundation officers, a former board liaison to our community safety, respect, and equity project, of which Tucson is a national model, a former chair of the Arizona Theater Company and the Foundation Real Estate Committee. And I won't give their decades, but I will say that they represent 3 decades of experience and wisdom. These facts tell us that across the generations and in a variety of ways, members of our community are committed to devoting their time, talent, and treasure so that we can engage in successful fundraising activities to support leadership development, education, those in need, and sustaining our Jewish heritage at home and around the world. We know each of you will continue to support our mission through our organizations, agencies, and synagogues. It is my privilege to now say a few words about Deborah Osteran, the amazing outgoing leader of the Federation these past 2 years and a major architect of our new vision. It has often been said that Winston Churchill was not merely a great leader, but that he was the exact right leader at the exact right time. And therefore, he was able to inspire a nation and accomplish what seemed impossible. Now, I'm not suggesting that Deborah Osteran is Winston Churchill. We all know she is far better dressed. But like Churchill, she was uniquely able to steer our community through unprecedented and seemingly impossible times. 3 years ago, when Deborah agreed to be the next chair of the Federation, she was already a well-seasoned leader who really had nothing left to prove. She had already led campaign, chaired the Cardoza Society, was a Federation vice chair, and had done just as much, if not more, in the legal community. She also provided pro bono legal advice to the Jewish community for over 20 years, worth too many dollars to even quantify. This should have been nothing more than a victory lap. How'd that work for you, Deborah? And yet no one could have predicted the myriad of challenges and opportunities that were ahead. Stu's retirement, the hiring of Foundation CEO Graham Hoffman to replace him and lead both organizations, the hiring to a community study and major relook at the way we do virtually everything, to a pandemic, to the transition of CEOs at three of our agencies and the sale of a 4th, which averted a major financial crisis for our community, to facing and dealing with harsh financial realities across our community, while also seeing need like we've never seen before. Through it all, Deborah led with a steady hand and calm demeanor. Yet some have said, including Deborah herself, that she tends to get in the weeds. But it turns out that the weeds were exactly where we needed to be most of this last 2 years. The amount of detail and hard work that was necessary to weather the changes I described could not have been managed by anyone else. Deborah is the hardest worker I have ever seen. She is always the most prepared and the most knowledgeable at any meeting. I can't even imagine what she was like when she was actually getting paid. Her example challenged me to do more and work harder myself. I could go on, but instead I want to tell you about the one trait I most admire in Deborah and wish I could emulate. She listens. She listens to every single person, no matter who they are or how much money they give or what they have to say. People seek her out because she listens, Not a day went by when she didn't mention some community member or other that she spoke to. I think she stayed up at night worrying about a volunteer who felt unneeded or a constituent who felt unheard. She not only listened, but she also acts. She frequently brought those concerns or comments to our meetings and made sure we addressed them. Deborah never loses sight of the purpose of our work: to help people connect to their Jewishness, to their community, and to their own best self. What matters more to her is not the grand visions or budget reconciliations. Of course, she cares about those things, but only because she knows why they matter. I have been lucky enough to work alongside Deborah these past few years, and I have learned so much about what it means to lead and to truly care about your community. Despite the many challenges we have faced, and even a rocky start some 2 years ago, I feel so lucky to have had her by my side, carrying the heavy load without complaint and with total grace. The entire community owes her a giant debt of gratitude. I will miss her, but I know she won't be far, and hopefully she'll still take my calls. In trying to think of the perfect gift for Deborah, we decided that what she needs most is a rest. So we will be giving her a weekend at Two Back Country Club, complete with a visit to the spa and some fun dinners that hopefully include a lot of tequila. I now invite Deborah to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you. A little overcome. And thanks to all of you. I do want to reflect on the past year, and thank you for those words. It has been an unusual year, and in reaction to the changing times, I've thought of a musical play, because Tevye, in the much acclaimed musical Fiddler on the Roof, also going through many changes in his life, admonishes us in both Yiddish and in English. Tradition. Without our tradition, our lives would be as shaky as a fiddler on the roof. During the past year of transition, we often have felt that our very world is being upended. As a community, just as Anne expressed, we experienced numerous leadership transitions in our Jewish institutions, and we collected data through our community-wide planning and visioning process that clearly expressed the communal directive for change in the ways our community members wish to be involved and supported in their expressions of their Judaism. And how, as a community, did we address these changes? We listened and we learned a lot. Switching our stewardship and campaign efforts to wellness check-ins and raising pandemic relief funds, we learned that roughly an equal number of pandemic relief donors wanted their contributions to be used in the Jewish community, while about an equal number wanted the funds to support the general community. In support of all donor intent, we did both, helping those in need through Jewish Family and Children's Services, Interfaith Community Services, and other organizations. Staying in close contact with our beneficiary agencies, synagogues, and partners, we will continue to see changes in the ways we can better integrate our services for the benefit of our Jewish and broader communities. In response to our inability to conduct in-person town halls to discuss with stakeholders the results of the planning process and community survey, with our community consultants, we redesigned our community-wide process online, conducting webinars, meaning-making sessions, and virtual town halls to test the bold ideas emerging through working groups in the 3 key areas identified in this process: community-wide approaches to Jewish education, diverse approaches to Jewish life, spiritual, cultural, and values-driven, and pursuit of tzedek and tikkun olam through community service, social justice, and social action. This work is ongoing, and we are excited to report that pilot projects in youth education, engagement, and senior support may be initiated in the upcoming program year. Our community visioning and planning process also informed our decision-making around the way our community delivers our services and underscores that new approaches to our very infrastructure are required if we are to meet changing communal needs and the changes in the way our community members want to be involved in philanthropy, to be educated, and to care for those in need. Indeed, we already are engaging with new partners. Handmaker Jewish Services for the Aging was acquired by a New York-based operator during the past year. Community funds were preserved, as Ann said, to assist seniors in need, and a community board was structured under the continued chairmanship of Phil Bregman, and on which Bruce Ash and Alexon Wexler also will serve to oversee the continuation of the Jewish character of Handmaker, including kashrut, Judaic programming under the direction of Nancy Levy, religious services, and the retention of donor facility names. And through an innovative collaboration with social venture partners, donor advised funds contributed $20,000 to local nonprofits on the COVID-19 front lines. At our annual campaign kickoff about 4 years ago, I shared with you the tremendous strides we had made in restoring and rebuilding our Jewish institutions after the Great Recession. But I then stressed that although our overall philanthropy had increased around capital and special needs campaigns and targeted giving, our unrestricted annual campaign had not kept pace with our improved economy. This remains true today. This past year, while struggling to meet the challenges of the pandemic and to implement the findings of the community planning process, we also have undertaken to address the ongoing reality for now and for the future in several ways. First, we brought, as you heard this evening, the Federation and Foundation together to maximize the strengths of each organization and eliminate duplication of efforts. With a more holistic approach to philanthropy and planning, we look forward to relationship building that allows for more meaningful interactions with and among our stakeholders. To this end, we introduced a calendar year campaign and promoted a 3-year pledge commitment so that planning for a midterm horizon, and not just the next year, can take place. And our stakeholder contacts throughout the year can focus much more on a higher degree on the contributors' communal participation and less on the ask. We kicked off our 2021 annual campaign with a drive-in event honoring the quarter century of leadership of Stuart and Nancy Mellon, under whose guidance our community flourished. With their well-recognized humility, they agreed to be the focus of this event only because the annual campaign is essential in raising the funds necessary to support our mission. Next, in order to maintain our allocations to our beneficiary agencies and partners and to our Israel and overseas commitments, and to ensure that we can continue to do so into the future, we recognize that we could not continue activities that were insufficiently funded by revenue streams other than the annual campaign. An example of this painful but prudent belt tightening is the conversion of the Arizona Jewish Post to the online Arizona Jewish Post-it Notes, the community newsflash, the user-friendly community calendar, and the CEO communications. We were gratified that we were able to continue all of our women's philanthropy programming and work during the pandemic, moving seminars and book club online and mobilizing volunteers for Mitzvah Magic, Matzah and More, Homer Davis and PJ Library, redesigned, of course, for health safety with drop-offs and pickups, including PJ Library's Holidays in a Bag. Further, we have engaged with our beneficiary agencies and partners in new ways to strengthen the relationships among the board members in an effort both to develop leadership and to promote collaboration and synergies that can be identified so that our agencies individually and collectively can find ways in which they can best meet the directives of our community members identified in the planning process. In this way, we look to support the work of our agencies and partners rather than filling in communal gaps, which in the past has expanded our own budgetary needs. I am pleased to share with you that this past year, we have welcomed 4 additional synagogues to our Synagogue Federation dialogue. As our community members have expressed their desire for more community-wide events and for more opportunities to express their Judaism outside of sanctuaries, we trust that this can be a forum, together with our community roundtable, for our congregations to strategize together to answer this call. And so, like Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof, we find that we must change with the changing times. And yet it is our tradition that guides us, because what does not change is our collective commitment to act with loving kindness as we undertake to repair our world at home, abroad, and in Israel. I am grateful to each and every one of you for your participation in our Jewish community and for the opportunity to work with you. Although this year I have spent many shaky days like a fiddler on the roof, I have been well and truly supported by our incredible officers, directors, and professionals. Graham not only had giant shoes to fill, he also was charged with undertaking 2 full-time jobs as CEO of Foundation and CEO of Federation simultaneously, while dealing with the pandemic and its impacts, including staff reductions. Nonetheless, our Jewish professionals rallied to meet the demands and needs, and my thanks to them is boundless. And even as I was homebound during the pandemic, I had the great good fortune of working with Ann Hammeroff, chair of the Jewish Community Foundation, a true partner, always willing to work through every issue together with laser focus on the outcomes for our community. As I climb down from that roof, it is with great confidence that our community can rely on its strong and sturdy foundations as succession is assured in ultra capable hands. This new program year, Ann will continue as co-chair of the Center for Jewish Philanthropy. Bruce Ash is a former Federation board chair and current campaign co-chair, together with the incomparable Karen Katz and the professional leadership of Fran Katz. Bruce served last year as chair-elect, always at the ready to help, with no request too large or too small, and now becomes co-chair of the Center for Jewish Philanthropy.
I would now like to welcome my friend and new co-chair, Bruce Ash. Bruce and I have known each other longer than we both care to admit. We grew up in Tucson, and I know there is no one who cares more about this community than Bruce. I look forward to working with him this next year and would like to invite him up to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Deborah, for your tireless work, the passion that you put into everything that you do, the thoughtfulness. And you and your husband make this unbelievable dynamic duo that has helped our community be what it is today. Good evening, everybody. I want to talk with you briefly about our future. This is an exciting time, and each of us here tonight witnessing the dawn of a new era of historic change. To all of our volunteers and supporters on this call, thank you very much for your past service and everything you will do in the future to help our community continue to thrive. Tonight, we took a vote that modernizes our corporate structure, which is changing to create a more effective operating platform for our community's growth and prosperity. We are not changing just for the sake of change. This is only the third major restructure of our Jewish community since 1947, when the Tucson Jewish Community Council was first organized. But with your participation and energy, this could be our most consequential change ever. Over the past 18 months, our Jewish community has listened to nearly 2,000 distinct voices throughout Southern Arizona, from Saddlebrook to Green Valley, Tucson to Sierra Vista, who've spoken clearly about what they want our Jewish community to look like in the future. Many of you here have been part of this planning. This work will continue. And I want to stress, to succeed, it will require your energy and your treasure. Our most enthusiastic grassroots volunteers will help shape the course of our future. Joining the Jewish Federation and Foundation together will create new synergies to bring young families, older adults, new communities, and different constituencies all together, better able to build capacity, the central address for Jewish philanthropy, a place to help our community thrive today. This is what the future looks like. Our future successes rest on a bottom-up strategy. All of us working together, youth matched with experienced community leaders, allied by a common goal of helping one another, all playing a role in the future of our Jewish community here, around the world, and especially in Israel, which is under attack again by one of its neighbors once more. Now, don't let my youthful good looks fool you. I've been here before, in service since the days of the old community council. But this is not your mother and father's old federation. We must all work together and trust one another, building on our long-term philanthropic successes, learning from our mistakes through this new alliance. The future is ours to complete. My co-chair, Ann Hammeroff, and I challenge each and every one here this evening. If you are interested in progress and making a difference, then join us. There has never been a better time, and there is nothing you will do in your lifetime which will fulfill you more than the work that you are about to embark upon. Ann and I look forward to working arm in arm and unified with each of you who share this vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce, for those really beautiful remarks about the future. I am so excited to be with all of you tonight and to have the opportunity to wrap us up this evening. But I want to begin with something that's a little bit more somber, which is an additional acknowledgement and honoring of our former board member and now new board member, posthumously Josh Harand. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to speak at a beautiful memorial service and celebration of life for Josh. And I want to share a couple of words with all of you because of the deep relationships I know that many of you had with Josh. I hope you'll bear with me as I read a letter, still unfinished, that I wrote to Josh, but never had the chance to give him. Josh was never afraid to cry when something moved him, and I'm going to do my best today and going forward to emulate him wherever I can. Josh, I do not have the words to tell you how much our friendship means to me. Since before I arrived in Tucson, you worked to welcome, include, orient, and care for me. You welcomed me into your family, both biologically, bringing your wife and kids and sister and parents to know me, and your chosen family as well, connecting me with so many remarkable friends in this community. But most of all, you gave so openly of yourself, sharing your inner wisdom, revealing your inner vulnerabilities, and knowingly soliciting mine. I know you know how important it has been to me to build my own relationships with Ashley and Noah and Eliza and Sarah and your mom. I want to make sure you know that these are relationships I plan to cultivate for the rest of my life. I know that pancakes and dance parties and swimming and air hockey are joyous memories that we can all cherish and new experiences that we can continue to have. Josh, I came to a discovery recently that I want to put out on the table. As you've said, it's time to say everything. The best way that I can describe the essence of you is the Hebrew word tzaddik. As you know, it comes from the same root as tzedakah, and it describes someone who is righteous and just. But it means so much more than that. Your generosity of spirit, capacity to see and acknowledge others for their inner selves, your vulnerability and commitment to do what is right, even when it is difficult. These are among the many traits that make you a tzaddik. And the legacy of every tzaddik is the spiritual and moral awakening that takes place after their passing for the community they leave behind. Perhaps the greatest thing I can say to you at this moment is that we cannot begin to fully comprehend the impact that you, your life, and your legacy will have on this community for years to come. Of course, I couldn't finish. I didn't finish the letter. I just didn't know how to say enough, how to do enough, be enough. And then I realized that Josh never asked or expected any of us to be anything more than who we are. He loved and connected and cared for us exactly as we were. The greatest lesson of his righteousness was his capacity to gaze into our depths and recognize within each of us the perfect inner essence, that reflection of the divine, and his willingness to acknowledge and reflect that back to us. I'm so grateful that having spent time, many of his last days with him, to quote him, that we said what needed to be said. And so in every act of compassion, loving kindness, and truth that we carry out from this day forward, we will see Josh's essence. As we are increasingly compelled to emulate his selfless deeds and extraordinary sensitivity, his voice and exuberance will guide and propel us. The things that Josh cared about most after his family, Ashley, Noah, and Eliza, were community and connection. He devoted so much of himself to this community and to making connections between and among people. The only thing that we can do to make this tragedy have meaning is to individually and collectively carry forward his legacy. And so I will honor Josh today with a prayer for us all as we endeavor to live as much righteousness and loving kindness in our lives as Josh manifested in his. May his wisdom steer us, his resolve strengthen us, his kindness soften us, his persistence sustain us, his exuberance compel us, and his love empower us in the commitment we make to heal our fractured world. From this day forward, in his memory, amen. And so now I'm here to talk about the future, about what it means to carry his legacy and the legacy of two incredible organizations in this community forward as we join forces in the Center for Jewish Philanthropy. I begin first by acknowledging what has gotten us to this point. I'm so thankful to Deborah and all of our outgoing board members for their remarkable leadership, mentoring, and commitment. To Deborah, despite having worked with many boards and volunteers over the years, I have never encountered one as deeply invested in every aspect of our work as you. You have devoted so much of yourself to this community and to the role that it is frequently compared to the efforts of a full-time professional, and our community benefited so immensely from your willingness to devote so much of your professional acumen, time, and care to us. To the many board members departing our board tonight, do not go far, please. We look forward to following up with you soon to discuss committees, agency boards, and other critical leadership opportunities in our community we know you will have a bit more time for now. I'm thrilled about what is ahead in terms of the potential of further formalizing integrations within our organizations. We are advancing our database migration this summer, which will bring the two organizations together in one technology. We've integrated our sponsorship campaigns. We're bringing together campaign and legacy in more meaningful ways, grants and allocations, and even seeing closer collaboration in finance and administration. And we are so excited to position ourselves increasingly as your partners in philanthropy. Reaching our collective Southern Arizona community, there are many faces we know and many we hope to welcome into the fold. We are here to be a partner, a facilitator, and a collaborator. We are working hard over the summer, despite the great flight to California and other cooler climates by many of our beloved community members, to continue to advance this effort over the course of the coming months. The team at JCF and JFSA, or the Center for Jewish Philanthropy, will be working hard to plan for an exciting, engaging, and meaningful fall and return to in-person activities. You heard already tonight about the exciting event we look forward to welcome you to on September 26th at the JCC, where we will have the opportunity to celebrate community awards, to honor Deborah Osaran in person, and to bring everyone together for a fantastic welcome back to in-person activity again. I'd like to take a moment to thank the professional team here for all their work during this unprecedented year. In particular, Lindsay, Fran, Kim, Jane, Brenda, Aviva, Maya, Robin, and the entire senior team, but really extending my gratitude to all of our professionals. This has been a remarkable and difficult and challenging year, and you have all risen to the occasion in beautiful and compelling ways. We also know we are welcoming two new dynamic leaders to our community, Johanna and Jessica, at THA and Hillel respectively, and we are so energized to have their expertise and passion join our community. Looking forward to beginning to collaborate over the coming months. And I have the utmost of gratitude for my agency exec colleagues who have met every other week for the past year to help steer and navigate and together to overcome the challenges associated with this pandemic. Now let's talk a little bit about how to stay in touch over the course of the next several months. First, we will still have post-its, the news flash, and ongoing online events. Be sure to sign up, share content, and more. Second, as we approach the fall, we are looking forward to welcoming everyone back to in-person activity together. If you are excited about that as much as we are excited about that, be in touch with us and let us know how we can help to get you more involved. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Thank you for caring, for your deep investment in our community, for showing up for those in need throughout this incredible pandemic. We look forward to the opportunity to gather again soon. And I'd like to just take a moment to wish you all a Chag Sameach as Shavuot approaches, and a wonderful, healthy, and happy summer ahead. Chag Sameach and good night. Thank you.